Now we're going to talk to y'all about Michael Peterson.
Michael Peterson was born October 23rd, 1943. He grew up and got a job with the Department of Defense overseas in 1965. And that year he also met and married his first wife, Patricia Sue, who was an elementary teacher in the Air Force Base in Germany. They were married for a good while.
You had a couple of kids with her.
Yeah, like
2 sons.
22 years. In 1968, he joined the Marine Corps. He went to Vietnam. In 1971, he got an honorable discharge because he was in a car wreck where he was permanently disabled. And while they lived in Germany, they had friends. One of his friends was Elizabeth Ratliff. In 1985, she died, and he got custody of her 2 daughters. So in 1987, when he divorced Patricia Sue, he moved to Durham, North Carolina. He was a novelist. He wrote several books and co-wrote books. So he was a good storyteller.
Yes.
That brings us up to speed on his past. Now we'll bring you up to speed on his crimes.
Let me mention one more thing about Elizabeth Ratliff. They had been friends with her and her husband. Her husband was killed in Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the military. And she had never done her finances herself. He had always taken care of that.
Right.
So when he passes, Patty and her like besties, and Michael's all in there and their stuff, he starts handling her financials for her, which is a little bit sus when you look back on it.
We'll circle back to that.
Yes. Her and Glenn were such good friends with him and Patty that they had both had it in their will that they would have custody of their daughters if something happened to both of them. And as that happens, it does. And Michael and Patty do adopt the girls. So Patty is their adoptive mother.
Right.
And also the boy's mother.
Right.
After she and Michael divorce, he comes back to America, and the kids eventually end up with him, all 4 of them.
In 1989, Michael moved in with Kathleen Atwater, a successful Nortel business executive. They married in 1997, and Kathleen's daughter, Caitlin, joined the extended family that now consisted of Clayton, Todd, Martha, and Margaret. So, he is now married.
And they got 5 kids between them.
To Kathleen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
None, like, just together.
But the 2 girls had come to think of Kathleen and call her mom.
Right.
During the marriage while they were together.
December 9th, 2001, Kathleen Peterson is found dead early Sunday morning at the base of the staircase in her Forest Hill home in Durham. Her husband, Mike Peterson, tells 911 operators his wife was injured in a fall.
If you go back and you listen to the 911 tapes, he sounds hysterical.
Right.
Like he's falling apart. That's certainly understandable.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to point out the man was in the military.
A Marine at that.
Generally, they're taught to handle situations. And I know
Right.
we're both nurses. Everyone says you don't know how you react if it's you. That's true. You know, and it is different if it's your own family. That's
Absolutely.
true too. I know myself just from, you know, small little things that I've been involved in. You kind of shut that out and go into nurse mode.
Apparently the crime scene was horrific. There was blood everywhere.
All over the walls, all over the
All over him.
steps, all over him. He had changed clothes or something at one point.
Right. So on December 13th, Kathleen was buried. And according to the state medical examiner, she died from a blow to the head and that her injuries were consistent with a fall down the flight of stairs. But investigators tried to conclude whether the fall was accidental. Just 5 days later, Michael hires high-profile criminal defense attorney David Rudolph. And police haven't charged him with any crimes or even named him as a suspect in the death.
Well, you could feel that coming.
Right.
Well, I'm going to say this. It's always good to go ahead and get you an attorney, even if you didn't.
Like, that would not be, like...
That doesn't mean...
If my husband fell down a flight of stairs and died, getting a lawyer to defend me in a criminal case would be the furthest thing from my mind. Now, getting a lawyer to handle the assets and all that, yes. So, to me, that's a little suspicious.
But if they were looking at you like maybe you did, you should get an attorney.
2 days later,
he's indicted.
So maybe he heard some little rumblings because, you know, he did run for like mayor and he had some connections somewhere.
They were a high-profile couple.
Right.
He wrote for the newspaper. He was very critical of prosecutors and of the DA and those attorneys. He's very critical of the police in some of his articles. He will say later on he felt like they had a vendetta against him because of this. He was really well known. They were very social.
And the thing is, like, he ran for mayor and he lied in his campaign.
Yeah, he did. He lied in his campaign. He lied on his book jacket saying that he had a Purple Heart and he was injured in Vietnam.
Right.
He was injured in combat, which he was injured in a car accident.
He's denied bond. And he must remain in the Durham County Jail through January the 22nd. So that's how long he stayed in the jail for this time. About a month. January 14th, 2002, a judge finally sets bond at $850,000. And he is released from jail. The prosecutor took the death penalty off the table. On Valentine's Day, the Peterson family enlisted the service of forensic specialist Dr. Henry Lee, who was a key figure in the O.J. Simpson murder trial. Lee spends nearly 4 hours at the Peterson home looking at various samples. So he's at the crime scene, taking samples, seeing how it all could happen. That's what a forensic specialist does.
And evidently, Henry Lee's fairly well respected in the community of forensic specialists in crime.
On the 18th of February, Kathleen's autopsy results are released to the public. The report said she had at least 7 deep cuts to the back of her head and bruises on her hands, arms, and face. There were signs of a struggle and concluded the injuries were not consistent with a fall down the stairs. The poor lady had 5 lacerations. I mean, that's a lot. I could see like you striking the stairs and having a cut. Maybe even 2.
But 5.
But 5. Also have bruises on your face, on your hands, and arms. Like, I can see bruises on your hands, like you're trying to catch yourself. But if it's the back of your head getting hit, how do you have bruises on your face? That's a little weird to me. On the 20th, the autopsy photos were released to the public. And under North Carolina law, the pictures are considered public record. On March the 18th, Michael breaks his silence, claiming he is innocent. On May the 10th, Durham District Attorney Jim Harden presents the autopsy of Elizabeth Radliff, who died in Grafenhausen, Germany, in November of 1985. The report states the former friend of Michael Peterson died of a stroke. It also states she was found at the bottom of the staircase. Sounds familiar? With several deep cuts to her scalp. Michael was the last person to see her alive. See some parallels there? Like, they're running right along beside each other. Maybe that's why his wife left him. Maybe she's had suspicions.
No, she kind of supports him. And when she dies, they're living together as friends. It's just hard to believe in coincidences like that. 2 women down the staircase.
Right.
And
in the same manner.
And same guy, last one with them.
Miss Radcliffe was in a pool of blood.
Yes.
I don't think hers was as messy as Kathleen's was. So Todd Peterson, Michael's son, claims he was at a party with a female friend the night of Kathleen Peterson's death. His friend's lawyer, Tom Lofton, takes a stand about her story. Lofton says police wanted to know if she was an alibi for Todd and whether he left the party to go back to his father's house. Todd's whole story doesn't make a whole lot of sense either.
No.
Like, he's at this party, and then he's at home, and he's at this party. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think Todd knew what his dad did.
I think he did. I think he did too.
Uh-huh.
He really defended him a lot.
Yes.
It's his father.
That's his dad. That's his dad. Like, there's no telling what kind of story he told. Because, remember, he's a storyteller.
Yes.
He's a novelist. He writes stories for a living.
Yes.
Even though he wasn't writing at the moment. I think all the creating he was doing was all in his mind. So Kathleen's sister takes the stand to discuss the TV interview where she mentioned a murder weapon. Michael's attorney say investigators are sharing evidence with Kathleen's sister and she should be admonished. The judge refuses the request, saying she has the First Amendment right to speak.
And really and truly, investigators and district attorneys do share information with families and ask them for information because the family's concerned their loved one has passed away and they want to know what's going on. And that happens all the time. That's not improper.
Kathleen's daughter files a lawsuit against Michael that accuses him of murdering her mother.
At first, she stood with him, and then not long,
She's like, little sus.
she saw the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And Candace Samperini at first defended him too, and they showed him the evidence, and they're like, oh.
Right.
Now his children and the two girls from Elizabeth Ratliff, they stick by him through the whole.
Well,
shit.
in February of 2003, the daughters, Margaret and Martha, give permission for their mother's remains to be exhumed. So they were reluctant to allow the exhumation, but they wanted to clear Michael's name.
And I do feel bad for those girls. I mean, they've lost everybody.
They exhume her body. The state medical examiner's report states Elizabeth Ratliff died of blunt force trauma to the head. The autopsy reported several lacerations and fracture to the skull. Now he's going to trial. They take their investigation to Grafenhausen, Germany, and they visit the house where Elizabeth Ratliff died. Examine the stairs where the body was found and question the former neighbor who remembers seeing Michael quickly leaving the home the night that Elizabeth died. So they had 12 jurors, 4 men and 8 women, as well as 4 alternates. The trial started on October 10th. It went to jury, and 4 days of deliberation. A jury finds Mike Peterson, now 63 years old, guilty of first-degree murder, and he is sentenced to life in prison.
I remember watching the staircase about this and reading some material about it, and I believe that they were all shocked at that verdict.
Yes.
The attorneys, David Rudolph,
Michael, the kids.
And they were just shocked and stunned and just bowled over by the fact that he was found guilty. They felt like they lost their faith in the judicial system because he was found guilty.
Right. So in January of 2004, remember Caitlin Atwater had a wrongful death suit against Michael. So the Superior Court judge ruled in favor of Caitlin Atwater, saying Michael Peterson is financially liable for Kathleen Peterson's death. They filed for an appeal in October because the alleged pursuit of a same-sex relation and the death of Elizabeth Ratliff are two reasons why his client did not get a fair trial.
Oh yeah, because
So,
it was brought out that he was having affairs with men. That was a motive for it. They said she went into his study to do something on the computer, his computer, which she didn't usually use, and pulled up information where he was emailing men to meet them, confronted him with it, and struggle and all ensued after that, led to her death.
right.
That he was fairly dependent upon her financially, and he didn't want, all that dirty laundry. It was, a motive for murder. What the defense said, and in a way it's true, back at this time, more so than now, it was less socially acceptable. I remember watching on Staircase, the documentary,
Made by Michael.
Yes, he made this. It was a filmmaker from France came and made this long, drawn out show that you can watch called The Staircase. And they're pretty sympathetic towards him.
Right. And he like does whatever he wants and says whatever he wants. So
Yeah, they were interviewing him.
It's not
It's not impartial by
Right.
any means. But it did make me make up my mind he was innocent at all.
right. It didn't change my mind.
They get into the fact that he's like, but Kathleen knew he was bisexual and that he liked men also,
Right.
and she was okay with it, is what he said.
Right.
Prosecuting attorney, and I can't think of her name right now, but she has since passed away, but she's on there talking about him in the closing argument, and she's showing pictures of some of the porn that they'd gotten off of his computer, of gay porn, and she's showing it to the jury, and she's like, and this is filth, pure tea filth. That wouldn't happen nowadays.
Right.
And no, that really shouldn't have happened there. Now, evidence of the affairs, whether it was male or female,
Right.
that does go to motive. That does give Kathleen a reason to divorce him. It gives him a reason to kill her to prevent that.
So in September, the Court of Appeals panel, with one judge dissenting, rejects Peterson's arguments that his trial was filled with inflammatory, irrelevant evidence and judicial mistakes that prevented him from getting a fair trial. In 2007, February to be exact, Michael and Caitlin agreed to $25 million settlement in the wrongful death lawsuit. An attorney representing Atwater says Peterson probably won't be able to pay, but that a civil judgment would show that Kathleen Peterson's life had value. I think Caitlin knew that he wasn't able to pay that, but she just wanted to show that her mom's life was valuable.
Yeah.
In November, the North Carolina Supreme Court rejects Michael's appeal for a new trial. Then in 2008, Superior Court judge awards $35 million in a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Caitlin Atwater, $25 million in compensatory damages. He also awards nearly $1,500 in court costs and another $10,500 in interest, bringing the total judgment to $35,501,486.80.
If he goes to make any money later on, she's going to get it.
Right.
And I think his family resents that. But
well, I mean, it was her mother.
That's her mother. He's out now.
There are theories. Like, theory one is Kathleen just fell down the stairs.
Yes.
Like, that was obviously his defense. There was 15 to 20 stairs. She was mixing booze with Valium. Theory two,
Michael killed her.
Michael killed her. I'm down with theory two. There was a massive life insurance payout. $1.4 million.
Yeah.
But I think he used that 1.4 million to pay his lawyers.
Pretty much.
Okay, this says there were 7 unexplained lacerations on the back of her head instead of 5. Massive blood loss. It already happened once in his presence. Theory 3. The owl did it.
I love the owl theory. I love it. Because there were some owl feathers found.
Right. Let's turn to the expert at the Audubon Society. In 2009, a second look at the evidence discovered that Kathleen had been found with feathers in her hands and hair, while the lacerations on her head appeared as if they could have been inflicted by owl's talons. Thus, the owl theory was born. They think an owl swooped in and attacked Kathleen outside of the house. And then she fell upon coming inside. An owl strike can definitely cause blunt force trauma. So why would an owl commit such a heinous act? So, like, this author's theory is the owl was having an affair with Michael Peterson and became jealous.
It's a possibility. Like,
Why not?
I'm going to kill her. I love Michael Peterson.
Why not? So Michael Peterson done it. That's my theory. I'm sticking with theory 2. Like,
let's not forget to mention though that he did win an appeal to get a new trial, and instead of going to trial, he took a plea.
He took an Alfred plea
where he didn't admit wrongdoing, but it admitted that there was enough evidence to convict him.
Right.
And so he's out with time served, which was what, about 11 years?
Yeah.
And and he was living with his first wife as friends when she passed away of a heart attack.
Was it really?
Todd, his son, who's had lots of issues with substance abuse since then, and all, has this video on YouTube that you can look up and watch where he rambles quite a bit. He's like, he did it, he killed Kathleen, he killed Elizabeth, and now he's killed my mom.
And stole everything from us.
And stole everything from us, yes. It was all about money. And this boy has really got some...
Bless him.
He's got some bad issues going on. He's got some weird ideas out there. That makes it hard to believe anything that would come out of his mouth.
It's sad.
But you kind of wonder, maybe he is right about this. I think his feeling is, not that Michael killed his mother, but I think he feels like he should have called 911 quicker when she was having her heart attack, and that maybe she could have been saved. I think that's pretty much the gist of what he
said,
feels.
like, he sat there and watched her while she was having a heart attack and laughed at her. Like, it was just, like, unreal. Which, I mean, I don't put it past Michael. But
I don't. He might very well be telling the truth there.
But bless his little heart, because he's messed up.
He is messed up.
Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. So thank you for joining us. And come back next time when we will be talking about a serial killer whose name is Richard Speck, and he murdered 8 nurses. Little close to home.
Yeah, a little close to home for us.
See you. Bye.
Bye.